We are now live.
So, welcome members, officers and members of the public to this Joint Staff Consultative Committee. Before the meeting starts, I would like to invite the committee clerk to confirm members and officers joined remotely can hear and be heard, and to explain how proceedings will work. Kayla, do you want to run through that quickly? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. So to ensure everyone can hear and be heard, could you please confirm your attendance when I read your name? Councillor Claire Strong.
I'm here.
Councillor Tom Plater.
Yep.
Councillor Terry Hone. I think we're still waiting for him. Ian Cooper.
I'm here. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Rebecca Webb.
Good morning.
Hi. Joe Kashishian. And Dee Levitt.
Sorry, I'm here. Yes.
Is anybody else present?
Helen Violet's present today. That's in place of Joe.
Perfect. Okay. Brilliant. So in accordance with council policy, this meeting is being audio recorded and live streamed. The recordings will be available to listen to on mod.gov and YouTube. If a member wishes to speak, they should use the raise hand function. Voting will be by consensus of the committee members, but where a vote is required, the same hand raise function will be used. Are there any questions before we start the meeting? No? Okay.
Okay, perfect. So item 1 on the agenda. So apologies for absence. I have received apologies from Councillor Elizabeth Dennis Harburg. Are there any further apologies from members? I know that we've got one of the councillors obviously today. So, and then we've got Debbie Eland, Louise Franklin and Christina Core have advised they are unavailable for this meeting and have sent apologies. Item agenda 2, I'd like to propose that we take as read and approve as the true record the minutes of the meeting of the committee held on the 21st of September 2022. Can I have a second on with somebody who was present? Thank you, Councillor Tom Platter. Sorry, I sound dreadful today, don't I? Okay. Item agenda 3, Chair's announcements. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and seeking rights is set out under Chair's announcements on the agenda. Okay, so item agenda 4, Staff Consultation Forum. I think we've got Ian, if you'd like to present.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just do a brief introduction and then obviously I'll answer any questions on the contents of them. I will focus on the bits that aren't HR related because they'll probably be picked up on the next item. As you'll see from the minutes of the Staff Consultation Forum, we have over those 3 months provided quite a lot of updates on where we are council projects, including the budget, council introduction scheme, local plan, Churchgate and the waste project. In addition to that, we also provide all members of staff with updates to our staff briefings on how projects are going. So we try to keep staff as best informed as we can about what's going on around the council. You'll also notice a number of green updates and also building and IT updates in there. I also just want to note that in the minutes we noted that Emma Jellis stood down as a staff consultation forum representative, and the appreciation committee was acknowledged then, but of course was note it here as well, to sort of show appreciation to her because she was on the committee for quite a while. So much appreciated, because it was always good to have members of staff on the committees. We do sometimes struggle to get a sufficient number of people on there. I was going to stop there, but obviously, yeah, if you have any questions on the detail in those 3 sets of minutes, happy to answer them.
I have no questions.
Any questions? No. Okay, perfect. Moving on. So agenda item 5, HR update, information note. Rebecca to present, please.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so I'm going to run through some of the key highlights of the paper. 3.2 is about how we work, and how we work is a document that describes what work looks like at North Herts. This isn't a change for current employees, but it will be used to ensure consistent messages and indicate to potential candidates what work looks like at North Herts. Excuse me. We continue to work with our senior managers to finalise the document, and we've included feedback from our employees and our inclusion group. 3.3 and the following sections focus on recruitment and retention, and that really continues to be a focus area for HR. There's lots of activity in the area. We had 19 vacancies and a consistent number of applicants in the period. There have been a couple of posts that we were not able to fill first time round, and so the HR team have worked with the managers to support the resolutions, and as you can see from the paper, these resolutions look different for each vacancy, and we've changed our approach with the legal post, for example. Work continues on our recruitment refresh project. We're requesting feedback from our senior managers group on a new job description template, and we're starting to pull together feedback from employees about what it's like to work at North Herts, and this will form part of the content update on the website. The key takeover with turnover is that we, although remaining fairly consistent, we do have pockets of higher turnover in a few key service areas. So the HR team are working with the service managers in those areas. And this has included additional support with recruiting and carrying out exit interviews and providing feedback to relevant managers. So moving away from recruitment, we're going to talk about apprentices later, but just one point to note here that we have a central budget for 8 apprentices, and the number of apprentices we currently have is due to delay in recruitment, and so there's been a build up of the budget, but we still have that budget for 8 posts. 3.7 touches on the pay award, which was agreed in November, and it was swiftly applied to the November salary. We were really keen to get this to our people as quickly as possible. So the HR team and our payroll provider did a really good job with this. The 2023 pay negotiations begin with the employer consultation meetings in February, and we'll be able to provide more information to this committee after that. 3.8 covers our benefits review, which is progressing. We have a number of benefit changes and additional benefits being introduced over the coming months, and this includes some really positive changes given our budget constraints. Moving to 3.10, anyone that's been in the building recently will have noticed that our values are now proudly displayed in meeting rooms, and we also have them virtually, so on the Citrix logon screen, for example. Our 2023 monthly personal development mornings will be dedicated to each individual value. So resources will be provided, and this will give teams an opportunity to really consider what the values mean for them and help further embed each one. 3.12 covers absence, and you can see that the levels have increased. We have colds and minor infections contributing to these levels, and although COVID absences are playing a part, they are much lower than their peak in January to March. There's ongoing advice for managers regarding short-term absence, and the team are working closely with managers of employees on long-term sickness to provide advice and support. And then finally, 3.13. This covers shaping our future, the steering group, which has now ended, but we remain committed to develop and maintain a positive culture. But it was felt that monitoring of this activity was best achieved through other routes, including this committee. So with that in mind, I'd like to highlight 4.2 in the paper, which highlights the next steps. And this includes allowing opportunity for the committee to comment on what is included in the paper to help it act as the strategic HR forum. As always, happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions?
just quickly, and I'm probably asked it before and I've forgotten the answer. On the table in 3.5, which is headcount, is that headcount total FTEs, or is it? I mean, we've got some people that are doing part-time roles. So is that? Because again, looking at it, we've sort of grown from 323 to 344 and headcount over the year, which is not it's quite a sizable an increase, an additional 20 employees. But is that because we have some people doing part-time roles or sharing roles, or did we really recruit an additional 20 people in this period?
It is definitely headcount. My Citrix has crashed, so I can't check the document. But yes, it's headcount, and I wouldn't be able to say for certain, but I think that we've definitely seen an increase in part-time people, so that would be part of the reason for that increase.
Okay, I thought it probably was, because we're counting heads as opposed. It's not done on what I call a full FTE.
Does anybody else have any questions before we move on? I'll take that as a no.
Well, I'm just one question I was going to say. I know you're talking about sickness and that for employees with children. There's an awful lot of children out there that are particularly with the sort of infections that are going around schools. I just wondered, how, if we've got anything special going on to support employees that might be in that situation, or giving advice to employees for what to look out for this, some of the health issues that are being seen.
Yeah, I think during this time of year, we always see children and employees falling unwell. So with regard to support, we wouldn't expect an individual to take sick leave if they're not the ones that are unwell. But we have got other types of leave that would support them being away from the office, not needing to work and being able to support their children. We haven't replicated, in HR, we haven't replicated any of the advice around health and Strep A. That's out there and readily available. We haven't replicated that at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, then I'll move on to item 6, men's health. So Joe Keshian, if you're happy to go ahead.
So
we don't have Joe.
No, Joe's not here today. I think that last time we took the paper as read and then started a conversation. So I can run through it, but I need to be able to get back into Citrix to be able to do that. Would you like me to run through the paper?
If you could, that would be ideal, just to sort of set the tone. That'd be good.
Right, give me a moment. I just need to get back in. Okay, apologies for the delay, Chair. So I think at the last JSCC, we had a discussion paper around women's health, and it was felt at that point that we should also cover the main aspects around men's health. So the team have pulled together some information for you. You can see that there's a list of facts there around men and their health. I think some of the key points here is that this very much talks about men in general, and not everybody's the same. But traditionally, men have been more reluctant to engage when it comes to health. And I think that applies to mental and physical health. But actually, the suicide rates for men in the UK are really staggering. which shows that there's really a lack of engagement, a lack of discussion around mental health, especially. There are things out there like Movember. There's more of a focus. I think we're more aware now than we were, but there's still those levels which are concerning. With regard to what we can do to help, we're looking at our employee assistance programme and a new contract there, and there's evidence to show that men in general might not want to pick up the phone necessarily and have a conversation, but might engage more with a chat or text. So we'll be looking at what options there are with regard to the EAP, our employee assistance programme, to be able to offer something like that. It might not be possible, but it's certainly something that we will consider. In addition to that, I think that we can really think about how our staff access our mental health first aiders as well. So it's not always a call that would be expected, but a Teams chat or an email would be okay as well. Since the last JSCC, we've also updated our Well at Work pages on the intranet, and it includes a page on men's mental health, and that is similar to the women's health section, signposting support, which is listed in the paper, where people can go for different things. I think the other thing that we've recognised is that we have support for things like pregnancy loss or fertility, and the menopause guidance, which perhaps have been targeted at women, and there's been an understanding now that actually men are also just as affected by these issues. So we've linked those pages together, so it's really clear that the support's there for everybody.
Does anybody have any questions about that?
Not a question so much. However, I must admit, on the facts on mental health, where it says testicular cancer is the most common in men, that surprised me because I thought it was actually prostate cancer.
Apparently not. I think perhaps there's quite a lot out there about prostate cancer, and maybe not so much about other things. That may be why we assume that that's one of the biggest issues.
I think the key on all of this, the message is about preventative measures and having regular testing and health checks.
Yeah.
And as you were quite rightly say, probably women, I mean, we do have a number of screening programs, but there are other screening programs that are out there and accessible, and you can be sent them through the post, and it's a question of doing them and sending them back.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And talking about it, making it less taboo and more spoken about and out there. I agree.
It's interesting actually, just on that, I was just thinking about the fact that we have a women's forum and things like that. Is there some sort of platform that we could utilize where we could raise awareness and men can talk about their experiences? Like you said, men are reluctant to speak up. So yeah, is there something we could do there perhaps just to raise that awareness a little bit more? Just a thought, really.
Yeah, no, I've noted that. Thank you.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any input or any questions, anything like that? Okay, perfect. All right, we'll move on then to agenda item 7, apprentices. Sorry, Rebecca, I know it's on you. But if you could just briefly run us through it, if that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I'm going to hand over to Helen for this one.
Okay,
she's our expert.
Thanks.
I'll very briefly sort of run through the highlights of the paper. So the apprenticeship levy was introduced in 2017, and we have paid into the apprenticeship levy. Since then, we access the money via our digital apprenticeship service, the DAS. The money is taken via our payroll provider and then transferred directly into our DAS pot. And we have to choose our apprentice providers from a list of training providers approved by the government who are delivering agreed apprenticeship standards. Prior to the levy, our apprentices used to attend North Harts College, but since the introduction of the levy, the availability of training providers has increased. Obviously, now this has been running for quite a few years, so we have a much bigger pot to choose from. Part of our restrictions or requirements to become an apprentice with North Harts is that you have to live or go to school within the district or surrounding areas. So we don't expect our apprentices to travel to a training provider who is out of the district. We make sure that any training is within the district. During COVID, all our apprenticeship training providers switched to online learning. A lot of them have continued that. Or we actually have training providers that come into our offices to deliver learning to our apprentices. So some apprenticeships are delivered purely online, some are a blended approach. You'll notice as well that the requirement for a current apprenticeship is 80% on the job and 20% off the job. That's no longer the typical 1 day a week at college. Like it used to be. It's a much more varied way of delivering learning to our apprentices. We also offer additional support to our apprentices. You can see on the paper, we give them specific learning just for the group of apprentices. We encourage them to meet as a group as well. We provide them with presentation skills. They've allocated a coach or mentor within the organisation, minute taking, and opportunities to attend wider events as well. We are now seeing the benefits of the levy, and we can open up a wider selection of apprenticeships rather than just typical business administration, which it used to be when it was pre-levy and at the start of the levy. We were quite limited to the apprenticeships available, but now, as you can see, we've got assistant accountant, community health and wellbeing apprentice, cultural learning and participation officer who is working in our museum, customer service specialists, digital marketing, HR support, information communication technician, and we also have had an advert go out yesterday for a communications apprenticeship too. So yeah, we're really sort of opening up the offering that we have now. And there's some figures on there about you know, the number of apprentices that we have and our success rate. So if there's any more questions or anything else people want to know.
Sorry, can I just quickly ask, if with the apprentices, do you just offer, is it a level 3 apprenticeships that you offer?
Our 18-month fixed term contracts are generally level 3 apprenticeship. The apprenticeship that's just gone out, actually, the communications is a level 4. But anything that is higher than that, we can sometimes have sort of establishment positions. Also, the thing to point out about the apprenticeship levy is that it's not just for fixed term contracts. You can develop existing members of staff with the apprenticeship levy. It can be used for training for existing members of staff, and we have trials that with a couple of members of staff across the organisation too.
Yeah, I think that was my point. I think just in terms of internal development and stuff to help.
Yeah, to be honest, the biggest challenge to developing internal members of staff is through 20% off the job. When we recruit an apprentice on fixed term contract, recruiting managers understand that 20% of their time is dedicated to learning. But if you're developing an existing member of staff, there's a requirement for 20% of their time to become learning time, which some teams don't have the capacity to lose that time. It's a really tricky situation. It's a great opportunity, but in practice, it's sometimes more difficult to put in place.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
No, just a remark, since this was started, almost 10 years ago, I think there's been some great successes that we've seen through the fact that, the statistics speak for themselves, a 54% success rate of retaining those apprentices and bringing people into the organisation. But I understand the challenge that you've said, Helen, about that for apprentices, if there's workload, and there's that 20% that needs to be covered as education, how managers, but they should have understood that when they were going to take an apprentice into the organisation, that was the requirement of it. And after 18 months, you get after 18 months, you get a really good possibility of an employee who can stay in the organisation who has that training. So I'm a little unclear why it's such a challenge for managers.
No, it's not a challenge for recruiting new apprentices on the fixed term contract. It's when we develop existing members of staff using the apprenticeship levy. We can use that so it doesn't have to be a new apprentice recruited into the organisation. So we could do a team leader apprenticeship for an existing member of staff, or a coaching and mentoring, for example. But 20% of their time then needs to become off the job learning. So if you're an existing member of staff being developed through the apprenticeship levy, you then suddenly have to dedicate 20% of your time to off the job learning, which can be a challenge.
I'll leave that with you in HR.
Okay, do we have any other questions? If not, then we'll move on to the last item on the agenda. Okay, no. So just future discussion topics. Does anybody have anything in mind that they'd like to put forward next time? I think I'll start off on that one then. I think I was just thinking the future streams of mandatory pay gap reporting would be interesting just to see what work's going on there. But yeah, any other thoughts? Yeah, Councillor Tom.
Yeah, I'd certainly be interested in seeing on organisational development and shaping future culture at the council.
Okay, perfect. Any other thoughts? Okay, well, we'll take that away for next time, and I'll bring this meeting to a close. Thank you, everyone.